expensive project has been sold to the British public on a false prospectus. The government began by saying it would prevent terrorism. When that wasn't tenable, it said it would prevent ID theft. When that didn't work, it said it would prevent benefit fraud. And when that didn't work, it resorted to claiming that it would help control illegal immigration and stuff. But it is plain that ID cards will not deter homegrown terrorists or suicide bombers who are quite happy to have their names be known once they have carried out their attacks, for the obvious reason, that of martyrdom. It is pointless when it is anonymous, like the London bombings, or the Madrid bombings, or even the big terror attacks on 9/11. They all had ID. I remember when September 11 happened, and I was watching all the news reports on it, like most people was, and in the rubble of one of the World Trade Centres they found a paper passport of one of the hijackers, because the hijackers wanted you all to know who it was. But what got me about the ID was the towers collapsed through tremendous heat and the plane evaporated in the building. Why did they only find a paper passport? You'd think paper and burn. Well, anyway, so when the terrorists didn't work for the implementation of ID cards, ministers stirred up fears about ID theft as the great scourge of modern society. And yeah, it's a problem, but it's not nowhere near as large as the government has been making out. In January, the Home Office published a report which said that ID theft cost the British public 1.7 billion annually. It turned out that that figure included 395 million for money laundering and 504 million for the total loss of plastic cards. Thus the figure was exaggerated by a little under 50%. Rather than stopping ID theft, ID cards are in fact likely to increase the problem, because the single, unified and trusted ID card will be something that is really worth forging. Already we hear criminal gangs have compromised the chip and pin technology that will be used, and the new RFID technology, that's radio frequency identifiers, in place of some passports, has already read by illegal scanners at about 30 paces. Imagine that gadget in the hands of terrorists or criminal gangs. They already put fake fronts on the front of cash machines, so that when you put your card in, they scan your card with a hidden camera to see your ID when you type it into the computer. So they've already got the scanning technology, and there is better scanning technology out there. So if terrorists and criminal gangs get hold of it, then they've got hold of all your DNA and everything, and everything about you on the ID card. Anyway, in February 2004, the government published a report saying that a campaign against benefit fraud had cut losses by 400 million. The report said that the government was on target to slash fraud and error by half, and then the boasting suddenly stopped. Why? Because the government's success at meeting its own targets went against its own arguments for the ID cards. Benefit fraud has decreased, but you'll hear little about it, either from the government or the tabloid press, because it suits them to keep us in a state of near frenzy. And there is something else to remember. In the majority of cases, benefit fraud is not the result of well-organised individuals using multiple identities, but rather people exaggerating their sickness and the entitlement to their disability pays. The ID card will do nothing to stop someone faking depression or a lower back pain, and it's right. It's all gimmicks. And finally, the ID card won't stop illegal immigration. True, it will make the lives of illegal immigrants more difficult, but there is little evidence to suggest that it will actually deter people from smuggling people and just desperate migrants coming into the country. Not one of these arguments is acceptable by the Prime Minister in this country. Let none of us be under any illusion that ID cards will remain voluntary. The system not only works if everyone is forced to carry a card and submit their details. Already 55 million has been granted in contracts to set up 69 enrolment centres across the country, and the bill, which became law, says if you don't inform the register of significant changes to your personal life or any errors they have made, not you, you will face a fine of up to £1,000. And also, you may also face a fine if you fail to submit to being re-interviewed, re-photographed, re-fingerprinted and re-scanned. That'll be your retina scan of your eye. And for all this you will pay between £30 and £93, or maybe more, just to be registered. Aren't they nice? You can pay for all the hassle, with further charges to change your details or to replace a lost or stolen card. The card that you have paid for and have taken so much trouble over then remains the property of the Secretary of State and he or she may withdraw it without explanation. Once that happens, you will find it hard to function in our brave new world. And when we get too far in the future, if they took it away from you, you wouldn't be able to pay for your house, you wouldn't be able to go into the shops and buy a Mars pack, because you wouldn't be allowed in. But that's the brave new world of the future. Some, like the editor of Prospect, David Goodhart, have attempted to portray the cards as badges of citizenship, embodying the idea of the contract between citizen and state. Well, I personally don't need a contract. I don't need one to tell me to be good or bad, because I know what's good and I know what I should do. So I don't need to be sold to the state. When reading the ID card bill, I was constantly struck by its mandatory tone, the threats of fines and the general contempt for the average citizen. There's a reason for this. Rather than being something that is designed to help us, the card and the register are in fact tools of government control and surveillance. Think about it. Every time you get a library card, make a hire purchase agreement, apply for a fishing or a gun licence, buy a piece